Following on from the success of Suikoden I, led by McDowell, Konami released Genzo Suikoden II, led by Riou, son of Genkaku. Titled the Dunan Unification Wars, it brought about new gameplay, unite attacks, the best friends Riou and Jowy, emotional stories where characters strive for survival, battling to regain their hometown and territory against overwhelming odds. And so begins a retelling of Genzo Suikoden II, continuing off from where we left off, Barbarossa and Windy. After seeing his Scarlet Moon Empire crumble at the hands of McDowell jump off Greg Minster's castle, the Liberation Army has won and the Empire is destroyed. Matthew passes away knowing he's achieved safety for future generations, making up for the crimes of the past. And so we begin. Jowy in the Highland encampment wanders around at nighttime, and as he enters his tent to retreat for the night, he meets up with our hero, Riou, son of Genkaku. They dream about going back to Kiaro, where Riou's fellow adoptive sibling Nanami is waiting for them to return. Jowy noting that Genkaku may still have been around if not for the war, as Riou conversates with fellow Unicorn Brigade members and the party wanders around at night. Captain Riou tells them to retreat to sleep for that night and he'll forget he ever saw them. In the dead of the night, Riou and Jowy are woken up to the sound of sirens as the encampment is lit ablaze by a surprise attack. Captain Riou appears and says that the damn city-state of Jouston has reneged on the truce and have attacked the Unicorn Youth Brigade. He tells the party to take the mountain path east to safety and the two make their getaway. Jowy warns Riou of potential enemy ambushes in the woods and wants to rejoin Captain Riou, so the pair make their way back, only to find that Riou has conspired with Prince Luca Blight to ambush the Youth Brigade and frame it on the city-state. This was done to give Highland an excuse to break the peace treaty on the premise of a scandalous attack by the enemy, so that Luca can lead the Highland army to glory in the upcoming wars. This sets the scene for what is to come. With that, the party escapes to the cliffs in the north on their attempt to retreat, but are cut off by the cowardly Captain Riou, who says that their story ends here. As Riou and Jowy battle for survival against Riou's men, they push the forces back long enough to gain space to retreat, left with no other option but to jump off into the river of the cliffs. They vow to return to this spot to be reunited if they ever get separated, and with that, they leave the destiny and jump off to see what fate has in store, and we get flashbacks of Grandpa Genkaku over in Kiaro, Jowy and Riou, reminiscing the good times of battling and training in the Youth Brigade with the Tonfa and the Bowstaff. And as the two youths leave to begin their duties, back in the present, Riou is rescued from the stream and a bear of a man named Victor appears and clarifies the situation and understands they are on the opposing sides of the war, as he is a mercenary allied with the city-states of Jouston. Flick also appears and mentions that he's lost the other lad, Jowy, downstream. So they bring their new captive back to their mercenary fort. So this is where Flick and Victor landed after Suikoden I. They hold Riou captive and he meets some mercenaries like Tuta and Gengen, and various other mercenaries in and around the fort, alongside other NPCs who help Riou with the daily chores. Speaking of which, Riou, as a prisoner, gets tasked to manual labor of cleaning by pole. He goes away and scrubs the oil on the floor. Back in the prison, he encounters Jowy, who has finally located Riou held captive in the mercenary fort. But before they can escape, Flick and Victor stops them in their tracks and interrogates them in the strategy room about a surprise attack by the state army on Highland. And when asked whether they still intend to escape, Jowy replies honestly with a yes, and Jowy and Riou are held captive in Riou's cell, where Jowy reveals that he woke up in a village called Toto. But at night time, Jowy secretly unpicks the lock and escapes to the upper decks before setting the fort alight with a flaming Molotov. They climb down the rope to their freedom. Despite the dangerous figure that Captain Riou was seen with, Jowy still wants to go back to Kiaro as Nanami is there waiting for them. And upon their travels, they meet a traveling band of performers, Rina, Ailey and Bolgan. They discuss going to Highland together as there's strength in numbers and there's a dangerous mist monster up in the mountains of where they must cross. And as the traveling party decide to go together on their journeys, the state border guard stops them on behalf of Mayor Annabelle of Moose. They are not allowed to proceed as there's a dangerous mist monster. However, Rina has other thoughts in mind, and after using her charms on one of the state's guard, they get permission to go through. Oh, Rina. They encounter the mist monster further ahead, and with their combined might vanquish it back into the fog. Just a little further north and they will be back in Highland territory to see their hometown of Cairo. And upon reaching the town's entrance, they decide to disband the party, with the mercenaries going further ahead and the two best friends going back to Grandpa Genkaku's house, when ecstatic Nanami, with a clumsy, cute, tomboyish behavior, demolishes Riou, straddles him, and praises the Lord that Riou is safe and they are reunited. And Nanami reveals that Riou and Jowy have been labelled as spies, but that Nanami will always have his back. And with that, they say farewell to Grandpa Genkaku. But before they can depart, Highland soldiers appear and wish to apprehend Riou. But Riou and Nanami, as students of Grandpa Genkaku, will not go quietly, and they begin the battle pose to demolish the Highland fodder. They shrug off the initial soldiers before Raud appears and the pair are ultimately captured. We see at the Atreides estate that Jowy's father prioritizes his own reputation over his own son and disowns Jowy, with his younger brother also taking the family side. And as Jowy begs for an audience with his mother, his younger brother Marcel also states that his mother Rosa doesn't wish to see him anymore. As Jowy is escorted from the estate, we then see Jowy, Riou and Nanami jailed in Cairo as they question Raud about that mysterious man that attacked the camp. Raud reveals that was Prince Luca Blight and that he has big ambitions, stirring up a frenzy under the pretense that the truce was broken by the city-states of Jowston, and that Riou and Jowy be executed as treacherous spies so that the truth dies with them. And as Riou and Jowy are escorted in handcuffs past Juliet Blight in a carriage, Jowy reveals to Juliet that they haven't betrayed Highland, the country of Highland has betrayed them and he will never forgive this. Riou and Jowy are absolutely tortured, smashed with batons as they are tied up and mercilessly beaten as the sun is setting in Highland. But suddenly the mercenary Flick appears to rescue Riou and Jowy. As they turn the tables on Captain Raud, he escapes past the bear of a man, Victor. Jowy states that they need to rescue their dear friend Nanami, who's still being held in the cell, and as they approach to rescue her, Nanami and Muku Muku the squirrel never needed rescuing as they are more than capable on their own. Nanami makes a brave escape and reveals that she was coming to rescue Riou and Jowy herself. Before they depart, Nanami needs a moment to say farewell to Chiaro, wondering if they'll ever come back again. Now back at the mercenary fort, Victor tells Riou and Jowy to stay out of trouble and to go to look for recruits as they will always be needing more manpower. Flick suggests that they lay low until he finds a way to get them back to Highland. In the next town they meet a young girl called Palika, who Jowy mentioned saved her when he floated down the river and her family nursed him back to health. The family mentioned it was just a gesture that anyone would have done. Palika requests an amulet from Jowy as she cannot leave the village herself as she is still too young. So Uncle Jowy and Uncle Riou go about finding an amulet present for Palika. In a hotel, the innkeeper suggests that an amulet that was left behind as an overdue payment can be sold, and Riou purchases it for Palika's present. But tragedy strikes as they return to the town and find it razed to the ground, burnt to a crisp. Palika is crying and saw her mum and dad vanquished in front of her. Apple from Suikoden I, student of Matthew, shows up and informs the party that this was the work of Luca Blight, Prince of Highland. He looted and demolished the village just for his army's entertainment. She requests a meeting with Victor, where she reveals that Luca's plans are in motion. He aims to invade the city-states of Jowston. This was just a warm-up, and with the surprise attack on the Unicorn Brigade in Highland, Luca Blight is riling up the locals to go to arms, to go to war, the injustice of slaughtering their youth. And as Palika sleeps, Jowy ponders where his allegiances lay. Back in the strategy room, Victor indicates that they are prepared to fight and stand their ground at this fortress, and Flick is going to get reinforcements from the city-state of Jowston. Apple will be setting some traps, and Victor will be gathering the manpower to defend what they can, including the use of the fire spears that forged from the dwarves in Suikoden I to overcome Tio's armoured cavalry. Though it has been years since the fire spears have been utilized, so Victor needs the help of the divine spear Sai to get rid of the rust and make the fire spears shine once more. Upon meeting Sai, he knows straight away that the meeting is about the fire spears. He's already packed and waiting to go to Victor's aid. He's heard that Luca Blight has invaded and Sai is ready to go to lend his arms. He is willing to work without upfront payment. We then get an animation of Luca Blight raising a village in fire on behalf of Highland, the Mad Prince himself, slaughtering innocents indiscriminately. Women, men and children fall beneath his blade. The famous scene where he makes a desperate villager plead for their life, squealing and imitating like a pig, but he tops her anyway. But Luca wants to hell raise and burn the place down to the ground, every woman, man and child deceased. Sai and the party watch on helplessly from the forest path, with Jowy stating that he will not forget the atrocities he witnessed that day. Sai meets up with Victor and Flick at the mercenary fort and begins work on the fire spears, and Riou and Jowy are instructed by Victor to retreat to Muse, the capital of the city-states of Joustin. However, Riou and Jowy, considering themselves as warriors, want to stay and defend the fort. Flick offers a duel, and if Riou can wound Flick, Flick will acknowledge them as warriors, him coming from the warriors village himself. Having been acknowledged by Victor and Flick, Riou and Jowy will be able to lead a company on the battlefield. The Orange Company is ready to go and the Highland army is approaching fast. Everyone has gathered in preparation for the upcoming battle. And as the leaders of the mercenary fort, alongside Sai and tactician Apple, prepare the fire spears and the strategy, they note that reinforcements from Muse will arrive in 10 days, so they just need to hold out until then. They are defending the mercenary fort, and General Solon G of Highland prepares the initial advance of the Highland army to take on the mercenary fort alongside Seed and Colgan before Lord Luca Blight arrive. Solon G is defeated by the fire spears and they make a hasty retreat, but just as we thought the calm awaited, Highland attack again under Lord Kibba, 3rd Royal Highland Company General on behalf of King Aegir's Blight alongside Luca Blight. They march on towards the mercenary fort and overwhelm the allies. The fort is going to be abandoned, the match is lost, but Jowy and Riou fight through the Highland troops looking for Palika, who is in the command room, as they witness Luca Blight slaughter Pole in front of Palika, who wails and cries in front of the Mad Prince. Luca Blight prepares to finish Palika, but Riou and Jowy arrive just on time to deflect his blow. Suddenly the whole building shakes as Victor beckons Riou and Jowy to quickly escape. He has thrown the fire spears into the boiler to blow up the building, whilst Luca Blight curses the party and vows to seek revenge for them escaping. As the camera pans back to the party, Palika shows Jowy and the party a secret cavern, a cryptic poneglyph that shows that Genkaku and Han could not unite the ruins as one, and thus with regret sealed them in this cavern. And Jowy deduces that this Genkaku may in fact be the same Master Genkaku that raised Riou and Nanami in the past in Kayaro. Just then, they are summoned within the inner chambers where Leknak appears and opens the visions of the past, where Riou and Jowy meet for the first time. When Jowy spies on their training, they grew up together and had each other's back even in the face of bullies. Leknar reveals that one of the 27 true runes has recognized them, and Jowy vows in front of the Black Sword rune that he's going to need the power to protect those that he loves, and Riou does the same in front of the Bright Shield rune. And as two aspects of the rune beginning now in their hand, they venture on into the gates of Muse. And despite telling the guard they are there on behalf of their friend Victor, they are refused entry, and this is where they strike a deal with a local inn master named Alex to find treasures deep within a ruin. They encounter a double-headed serpent who stands no chance against Zamza's fire dragon Rune and a muscular woman Ulon. Alex finds a healing herb as a treasure deep within the ruins, and as they escape back to the inn, they find Hilda, his beloved, on the floor having fallen sick. That healing herb, having come in handy, ensures he makes a full recovery. Alex is back home safe, and as agreed, he hands over the entry permit to Muse. Jowy's acting proves terrible enough to land a party in Muse jail, where the legendary theme of a moonlit night comes on, and Jowy reminisces with envy over the close bond between Riou, Nanami and Genkaku, despite not being blood related. He dreams of going back and living life in peace, just the three of them teaching Genkaku style fighting at the dojo. Flick and Victor suddenly appear and bring the party to Lady Annabelle, who proclaims what a beast Luca Blight is for breaking the treaty so soon. She recognizes Genkaku's adopted children, Riou and Nanami. There's no time for extended greetings with Lady Annabelle as her strategist Jess, as Luca Blight's entourage is on the border and they will be attacking Moose next. Jess suggests that they infiltrate the camp and check how many provisions they have in order to gauge how long the siege can continue for, so they borrow some youth brigade uniforms, infiltrate the camp and make their way into the key tent. It appears that they have enough for 2 weeks, which means they want to end things quickly. They are spotted by Captain Riou, who identifies Riou and Joey straight away, but they manage to escape to a big tent where Lady Juliet Blight protects the two fugitives and asks Riou to leave her chambers immediately. She discusses with Joey and Riou about how to stop her brother Luca Blight. In a dangerous position behind enemy lines, the two escape through a forest where they are caught up by Riou, who could tell that Princess Juliet was hoarding the fugitives. And with limited options available, Joey and Riou fight through the fodder, and Joey remains at the camp to stop the incoming horde and let Riou escape. He uses the power of the Black Sword Rune to hold off the pursuing Highland troops. Riou makes his way back to the camp with Ricky Maru, and Nanami greets them and asks where Joey is, and Riou explains everything, especially to Victor and Flick, who barge into Jess and Annabelle's chambers to confront him directly to ask why they sent them on such a dangerous mission. And Jess retorts he did in fact send them on that suicidal mission, but Annabelle reveals that their hands are tied and they can no longer do anything to rescue Joey. So with that in mind, Riou and Nanami wait at the outskirts of the Muse Gate, whilst Nanami recalls stories back in the old days. Finally, Joey returns to them outside the Muse Gates, and next we go to the city-states of Joustin's meeting of the leaders on the hilltop in a conference. They enter the conference chambers and we hear the laws of the city-states of Joustin. Gustav, Gerudo, Teresa Wisemale, all of them discuss the incoming threat posed by Luca Blight and Highland. They talk about the forces they have at hand and who can commit to the war. And though there are disagreements on committing to the battle, the Highland forces have slaughtered the border guard and they are approaching Moose fast. Everyone is ordered to deploy their troops, and just as they do, Annabelle tells Victor that he is needed to slow down the Highland forces, as it will take at least 7 days for everyone's troops to maneuver and help reinforce Moo's defenses. Victor vows to slow down Highland with everything they've got, and on the battlefield, Solonji leads a company to charge at Victor again. The Knights of Gerudo withdraw strategically to the dismay of the city-states of Joustin, and Miklatov and Kamasa are arms as Gerudo commands them to retreat and escape and not play a part in the defense of Moose. But even so, with the strategy of Apple, they manage to slow down the Highland forces, and at nighttime, Joey is seen speaking to a mysterious ninja. As the leaders of the city-state of Joustin argue amongst themselves, Grand Mayor of South Window and Gustav of Tinto in front of Lady Annabelle, and Joey requests that Nanami look after Palika so that he can have a quiet word with Riou one-to-one directly. He mentions that this war is going on for a long time and Nanami and Riou should escape and play no part in the upcoming war. Annabelle and Victor share a drink and recount old stories of the flames of war. Whilst Riou returns into the tavern, Joey sneaks up on Annabelle late at night, and with heinous intentions, Joey resolves to take the course of the war in a different direction by taking Lady Annabelle's life. She questions his resolve, and despite looking resigned to inevitable fate, he drops his guard and she intends to struggle till the end, but alas, Joey finishes the job. Riou and Nanami break into the room as Joey escapes, having mortally wounded Lady Annabelle, and in her dying breath, she apologizes to Riou and Nanami for what happened to Genkaku in the past and asks them to survive and see out the war. Jess arrives on the scene and blames the two for Lady Annabelle's death. They talk to Leona, the inn tavern, who says that everyone's going to escape to South Window, and in the dead of night, Nanami questions whether Joey really mortally wounded Lady Annabelle. In Southport, the Highland soldiers have occupied the port and no one is to escape. They meet up with a travelling band again, Ailey, Rena and Bolgan, as well as sailors Taiho and Yamku. They play Chinchirodin, the dice game, and win a boat ride to South Window, where they meet up with Victor, who shares his disbelief on Annabelle's fate. Victor and Annabelle may have had a kindling romance in the background, but we'll never know. He resolves to gather the scattered troops and invites Riou to meet with Grand Mayor, the Mayor of South Window. And as Granmere hosts the party, Victor vows to help him in return. Freed, Y shares news of young girls disappearing near North Window, which gives a chilling vibe of the return of Necklord, the vampire from Suikoden 1 and Victor's past. And upon checking on North Window, Victor reveals that the villagers are buried here in these scattered graves thanks to the vampire Necklord, who suddenly makes a drastic appearance in front of Victor, who in his disbelief, having slain him in Genzo Suikoden 1, is mocked by the undead immortal vampire, who says, "Victor, go get the Star Dragon sword again, and this time I will destroy it along with you." Victor and the party are overwhelmed by Necklord and his zombies and make a retreat to the cave where Victor abandoned the Star Dragon sword, and inside they find a man called Khan Mali, whose family has been hunting vampires for generations. And upon their reunion, the Star Dragon sword states he is not Victor's friend and challenges them to a duel where the incarnation of the knight Rune tests their resolve before agreeing to go with the party to slay Victor once more. Khan talks about a spell to seal Necklord's power, and with that they enter the North Window Castle, where Daisy, Victor's former childhood friend, is raised from the ashes, but Victor, not falling for the dummy, slices her in half. Before Necklord makes a timely escape and lets the party face his five-headed spider, the Abomination, and Khan departs from the party to chase Necklord's traces. Just then, Flick appears and informs the party that South Window has been captured by Highland, with Mayor Granmere surrendering without fightback. As a set an example, they beheaded him anyway and put his head on display. Victor states they now have an abandoned castle and questions the next steps, as Apple reveals that in the town of Radat lives a man named Shu, a quite brilliant strategist that they must meet, a former pupil of Master Matthew from Suikoden 1. And after taking Apple's advice, the party meets Shu, with Apple requesting his aid against the evil Luca Blight. Shu reveals he knows all about Luca and his plans to lay waste to the land, but he's indifferent to it and he doesn't care if the country is destroyed. He cares about money and is using his knowledge to exploit trading and getting rich. Apple throws away her pride and pleads with Shu, who momentarily relents and asks the party to find a coin he throws into a river. If they find a coin, he will join. And as the party find a coin, Shu keeps his word and says that he is worth more than 100,000 men, and that with the Rune on Riou's right hand, they just might have a chance. He immediately outranks Victor and says to follow his every word if they want a chance to win, and immediately wants to create unrest in the Highland army by spreading a rumour that South Window soldiers will be executed after the war. He plans to infiltrate and attack the Highland commander Solon G directly to shake troop morale and get the South Window statesmen back onto their side, and he gives the responsibility to Riou. Solon G, the Highland commander, shows arrogance in ignoring Colgan's warnings of exposed flanks, and Riou successfully attacks him from the side, forcing Solon G's unit to retreat. Back at the South Window Castle, Ailey congratulates Riou and Flick serenades the new hero, with Shu insisting that he become the leader of the uprising army. Riou is the son of the legendary hero Genkaku, who had unfinished business with the city-states 30 years ago, and he currently possessed a bright shield rune, as Genkaku did once upon a time. Victor invites Riou and Nanami into the tavern at night to finally share the true story of their adopted grandpa Genkaku 30 years ago, when the city-states of Jouston and Highland were at war. Lady Annabelle's father Darrell of Mews commanded the state, whilst Han Cunningham, Genkaku's longtime friend, led the Highland forces. Genkaku was given a unit to command and led a skirmish to raid Highland supplies, and this crippled Highland's rations long enough for the state to recover. And with the forces on at deadlock, Han and Genkaku, who were great friends having come from the same village, often shared a drink between the border. But as they negotiated a truce, the town of Kayaro was a sticking point, and only a duel between the faction champions could decide its fate. The fateful day came and each champion received their patron's sword, but Genkaku refused to raise his blade despite Darrell's persistent requests, and thus Hans was declared the winner, and Genkaku was exiled by Lord Darrell and left the city-state of Jouston forever. It was later revealed that Darrell had coated his blade with poison to give Genkaku the edge and also frame him later, and despite Genkaku's name being eventually cleared, he never returned to the city-state again and spent his days in Kayaro, raising two war orphans, Riou and Nanami. Victor tells Riou he is not the son of a traitor but his own man, and the leader of the New Dawn. Victor vows to lend his strength to Riou, as does Thunder Flick, to defeat the personification of evil, Luca Blight, but they would need to rename their castle as North Window no longer exists. So they go with Dunan Castle, a fitting name. Just then, Leknap the Seer, holder of the true back gate rune, appears and hands over the stone tablet of destiny, as Riou is now firmly placed as the Tenkai star who will gather the stars of destiny. The Wind Mage Luck also appears and joins the cause at the request of Leknut. She states that Riou's friend Jowy, holder of the Black Sword Rune, is in her visions as well, and they both have hard paths to come, but that Riou must keep moving forwards always. With that in mind, Fitcher tells Riou to venture to Two Rivers to form an alliance with the humans, kobolds and flyers, and Tai-Ho vows to bring them there by ship. They are greeted by General Ridley of the Kobolds, who recognizes the Bright Shield rune and brings Riou and party to meet Lord Mackay. Ridley is infuriated by an apparent betrayal by the humans, and refuses to let the Kobolds ally with the humans. A trickster flyer named Chaco steals Fitcher's wallet, but they corner him and retain their potch. After defeating a mutant rat in the sewers, with the combined force of some of the Stars of Destiny like Shiro, Anita and Clive, Ridley reveals a secret message between Mackay and Highland's Lord Kibba, forming a truce over giving Kobold territory to Highland. And so it happens that Mackay does in fact meet with Lord Kibba. Neither of the side want a war in Two Rivers, and Mackay states that this truce will give them time. But he's ultimately double-crossed as Kibba assaults an unprepared Two Rivers and breaks the treaty. And as the humans single-handedly prepare to hold off the forces of Highland, Riou, Fitcher and the party beckon the kobolds to aid the humans as the flyers support with aerial bombardments. And finally the kobolds show up to protect their homeland, and with courage in their hearts fight back and force Kibba and his Highland troops to retreat. Moving on to the Highland camp, Solon G is summoned before Lord Luca Blight and asked to explain his defeat, and with Luca not being impressed, orders his execution. Jowy steps up and tells Luca he will capture Green Hill with just 5,000 men and the prisoners from Muse, and Luca glees in delight at the arrogant proposal, and declares that he will reward Jowy appropriately if he succeeds. Back at Two Rivers, Riou formally allies with Mackay, and the party make their way back to their castle. But news hits back at Dunan Castle that Green Hill has fallen to some tactical brilliance, and that the Orange Army does not have the strength to recapture the academic town for now. But no matter the circumstances, they must rescue Theresa Wisemel, bring her to safety, and thus Shu asks Riou and the other younger recruits to infiltrate the city under the guise of fake students and rescue the acting mayor of Green Hill, Theresa Wisemel. As the party manage to deceive the Highland Guard at Green Hill's entrance, they are greeted by Amelia and are enrolled into the faculty. The Highland Guard are still actively hunting for Theresa, and Captain Raud appears to force entry into the local inn. Just then, Flick causes a commotion in the city square, accusing Fitcher of treason, whilst the party meet with Theresa's guardian, Shin of the Karaya tribe, in the forest. He states that Theresa needs more time before escaping and allows the company to meet Theresa at her hideout. Theresa laments at her lack of power and her abandoning her citizens. Theresa recounts how Highland released the captured Muse soldiers back to Green Hill and began their siege. At first, the Green Hill party were jubilant at the returned soldiers, but it was surprising that the Highland army made no efforts to actually attack. It was a battle of attrition, and the additional weary Muse soldiers were a burden to the food supplies, and with provisions dwindling, the citizens and Muse soldiers caused chaos internally by raiding food storages. And Theresa, in her role as acting mayor, failed to quell the uproar. Back in the city square, Raud reveals a 20,000 potch bounty and Highland citizenship to anyone who could capture the fugitive Mayor Theresa. And Jowy reveals betrayal comes at the cost of punishment and gives his personal assurances over the deal. Palika, having heard Jowy, leaves the party to catch a glance, and the party hurry to protect her at the cost of revealing themselves and confronting Jowy directly and the Highland army. The party quickly escape through the manic partisan crowd, and Raud and co are caught in the chaos and fail to pursue. Back in the inn, Theresa strengthens her resolve and offers to give herself up for the town's freedom. But Shin and the others have other plans and step in to protect her, and Theresa and Raud are surprised at this outcome. As the party and Nina make their way to show their unwavering support for Theresa and vow to protect her, as do the citizens of Green Hill who love her dearly. The party make their escape to the forest thanks to the efforts of the citizens, but Raud and Entourage finally catch up. Shin offers to fend them off and buy them time to escape, but out of nowhere, Jowy appears with Palika and begs Riou to give up leadership and abandon the war. By appearing alone, he still believes in the flickering bond between himself and Riou. He wants to spare his friend, as he believes Highland has already won. He asks the party to believe in him and that he will not let Luca Blight have his own way in the world. But Riou declines and decides to walk his own path, and the party leaves, pulling Nanami kicking and screaming as Jowy contemplates a final farewell to Riou. Next, we see Raud and his men catch up to Jowy and ask if Riou and entourage passed by, which Jowy responds that he hadn't. Raud seems suspicious, only to have Highland Generals Seed and Colgan appear and back Jowy's statement. They agree that Luca must not have his own way, as only destruction would await. At Dunan Castle, Shu welcomes Lady Teresa, and we get to see Luca congratulate Jowy on capturing Green Hill to prove his credentials. Jowy asks for Julia's hand in marriage, and Luca threatens to behead Jowy for such an outrageous request. Jowy responds that he has a plan and wants to talk to Luca privately. Back at Dunan Castle, the allies plan their next approach. Shu suggests allying with the Knights of Matilda as the only option left, and that their strength is equal to that of Meuse, and allows them to flank the Highland army on two sides. On the way to Matilda, the party rendezvous with Miklatov, a captain of the Knights of Matilda who escorts them personally. They meet with Commander Gerudo, who shows contempt for the party and shows no intentions of forming an alliance. At night, Leknat appears before Riou and asks him to show resolve and to move forward always with the hopes and dreams of the many relying on him. The next morning, Gerudo is shocked at the Highland army garrisoned at the Matilda-Meuse border. Gerudo appears willing to deploy the troops and mobilize them. On the battlefield, led by Lord Luca Blight, who vows to slaughter them all like pigs. Gerudo watches on whilst refusing to aid the border guard, with Miklatov showing outright disgust at his cowardly liege. And with that, the border guard are left to their fate, as the border guard are slaughtered and Gerudo smirks in his chambers. Miklatov wishes to depart with Riou and his party to see the atrocities by Highland with his own eyes and begs Camus not to stand in his way. In the nearby town, we catch up with Fuch, the Dragon Knight, having grown up since Suikoden I in a spot of bother, having been responsible for a missing child. He is accompanied by Humphrey, a former member of the Liberation Army, as they venture into the mountains together with Riou to search for the missing boy. And upon entering the Misty Mountains, they soon find a vulnerable boy who has been attacked by My Valentine's Harpy ladies from Yu-Gi-Oh! But Riou unleashes his trap card and vanquishes the foe. The child Kent appears okay and Fuch disciplines the boy for searching for dragons, but Kent was right, and at the summit they find a dragon egg that gives birth to the Dragon Bright, the future Blue Eyes White Dragon. And with that, the team bring Kent home with Fuch vowing to return as a Dragon Knight. Riou departs for Meuse with Miklatov accompanying the team by request. And upon nearing the fallen city, see the beast Rune wail into the sky after receiving blood sacrifices by Luca Blight, who absolutely squeals in delight at the souls being sucked by the devilish true Rune. And Luca also commends Jowy on his inner darkness. Miklatov confirms the death of the citizens and reports back to Gerudo about the sacrifices, but Gerudo, as usual, brushes it off and wants to remain camped in Matilda. His inaction to this inhumanity says everything. Miklatov has had enough and quits the Knights on the spot, as does Camus, and the rest of the Knights of Matilda in the chambers quit shortly after, throwing their knight badges to the floor. One of the most badass scenes in the game. Back in Highland, Luca reveals that Kibba and Claw are a danger due to their loyalty to Agared's Blight. Suddenly, a blast from the past, Leon Silverberg appears and Luca recognizes him as a strategist of the Scarlet Moon Empire and questions his intentions. But Jowy vouches for Leon Silverberg and Luca replies with a ha 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 manic laugh. Shu reports to Riou that Highland troops have appeared in Radat, and we can see it is true, as Klaus and his father Kibba speak in front of the Radat civilians about Highland's occupancy and laying down the new laws in place. And we hear from Klaus that Jowy is at the Highland capital as his own wedding to Juliet Blight is about to begin. And as Shu prepares the army for a proxy war, mano a mano, front on front, General Ridley feigns retreat to give Highland a false sense of security, and the Dunan army retreats to think of the next move. But over in Highland, the holy union between Jowy and Juliet begins with a marriage overseen by King Agared's Blight. Jowy swears loyalty to the king and participates in a blood oath to offer to the king of Highland, who upon drinking the poisoned chalice immediately buckles over in mortal peril as Luca resides over him and curses him for abandoning his own captured wife, Luca's mother, and for signing a peace treaty with the city-state forces that tortured her. Luca recounts the kidnapping and how Atreides, like Grudo, did nothing in cowardice while they were abused in captivity. Juliet, who was birthed as a result of that incident, burst onto the scene in stress over her father. Kibba and Klaus realize too late that they have been conned into an ambush, and General Ridley leads the charge to counterattack. Leon declares Luca Blight King of Highland, as Dunan strategist Apple declares a victory, capturing both Kibba and Klaus on the battlefield. Klaus reveals the inner turmoil about the marriage of Juliet, the death of Atreides, and the devastating changes afoot. Kibba begrudgingly joins the rebels, and Apple now states that the Orange Army has enough manpower to compete with each Highland company. Playboy Sheena bursts into the room and states his dad is Lepant, president of the Tauran Republic, and Shu states it isn't such a bad idea at all to ally with the heroes from Suikoden I. Both sides being very different now than when they fought before. They meet with border guard Varkas, the former Mount Sifu bandit, who escorts the party to see Lepant, who recounts the battles with Tinto and South Window and the city-states of Joustin. Lepant reminisces of Ter Magdol, who toppled the Scarlet Moon Empire and finally brought peace to the lands. He offers General Valeria and Ninja Kasumi to aid the cause. Riou's party being allowed to choose which able general to aid his cause. Lepant ends it with a stern word for his playboy son Sheena. News breaks that the Highland army camped in Meuse are on their way to invade the castle. And over in the Highland camp, Jowy and Leon plot the winning route to their goals, but Luca Blight disagrees and wants to go directly for Dunan Castle, ignoring the small fry along the way. Jowy offers his services to be the advanced guard to lead the siege, and Sasarai from Harmonia has come all the way and wants to participate in the battle as well. With Lord Ridley being surrounded, the allies have to make a hasty retreat, with Ridley vowing not to die on this day. Having been unable to save him, Apple notes that a foreign army is aiding Highland. Luck interjects and states that he knows Sasarai well and he will deal with him personally. In the Highland camp, Ridley is brought before Luca Blight as a prisoner of war, and Leon is confident in their army's capacity. Whilst Shu, Claus and the leadership group determine that the only goal is to remove Luca Blight so that Juliet can ascend to the Highland throne and form a lasting peace treaty. Riou and Kibba are to go directly for Luca to free Lord Ridley and face off with Luca Blight himself. On the battlefield, Luca spits in disgust at Kibba's betrayal as Kibba bites back against the cold-blooded murder of his own father, King Atreides Blight. They bait Luca into a trap, but his strength is overwhelming, so the army decides to retreat. Having managed to save Lord Ridley with Rokaku ninjas Sasuke and Mondo. Ridley reveals a message from Leon Silverberg about Luca's plans to personally lead a raid at night, and notes this might be their final chance to vanquish him, whilst Kibba prays for caution of a potential ambush. Shu puts the plans in place to ambush the Mad Prince, and the fateful night is now upon us. Suddenly, Luca's beaming smirk is wiped off his face. The Orange Army are attacking. Arrows burst onto the scene and knock out the 1st Battalion. Even pierced by arrows, he charges at Flick's first party. They directly engage Luca Blight, and he makes short work of him before vanquishing Victor's party and ultimately going and fighting Riou's party himself. And with his ambitions not being fulfilled yet, he chances upon an amulet with fireflies inside them. Upon releasing them, Shu spots the light and tells the firing squad to pierce the night sky and hit Luca with all they got. Luca, now eternally wounded, does a final foray and charge at Genkaku's son Riou. Riou defeats the wounded Luca and puts an end to the Mad Prince of Highland. Even though it took hundreds to kill him, he killed by the thousands, but the Mad Prince of Highland is finally vanquished, and Jowy and Leon look on to a job well done behind a tree, having set up the plot to rid the world of the Mad Prince of Highland. As the heroes make their way back, Riou collapses in exhaustion, having dueled to the death with Luca Blight. And Jowy and Juliet are anointed to be the rulers of Highland, and Juliet and Jowy exchanging their sacred vows to each other. Juliet abdicates her ruling rights over to Jowy out of love. Riou stumbles upon Ter Magdol fishing, with Kasumi blushing upon meeting him and being reunited. Romeo appears and asks Riou to give him some time before going into the tavern in shock, as a kid named Ko has been abducted into the mountains by bandits. Ter is still bearing the curse of the Soul Eater rune and is wary from its effects, with Rune having powered up by taking the souls of those closest to him, including Teó McDowell and Odessa. So they team with Riou to face the bandits together, and with the bandit chiefs actually knowing what they're up against, they disperse upon having to face the two legendary leaders. As they rescue young Ko, who has actually been poisoned, they encounter Weevil's perfectly ultimate Great Moth, who they dispatch with ease. They venture into Gregminster to heal the poisoned Ko with the aid of legendary Dr. Liu Kang, and Li Pant prepares to hand over the presidency, but McDowell once again refuses and wishes to wander the world again. And the Pant just wants a promise that McDowell will one day return to lead the Tauran Republic. Pant and Cleo rejoice at seeing the young master again, but back at their house, McDowell tells Gremio that he wishes to leave once more. Back at the castle, Kogan, an envoy of Highland, comes bearing a request of peace, and the Orange Army prepare to accept this proposal. As the party make their way to the peace summit, they note that no preparation has been made, and they are ambushed by an arrow squad as Jowy and Leon request their unconditional surrender. And Jowy explains how this war is more than just Jowy against Luca Blight, when all looks lost having been backstabbed by Jowy. Just then, the bear of a man Victor obliterates the arrow squad with his clone Rune and brings Palika to Jowy, knowing he can't let her see more violence, which gives the party plenty of chance to escape. Shu had known this was going to happen as the cunning Leon Silverberg was involved, but didn't wish to betray Nanami's desires, so he had Flick and Victor as the vanguard to save the day in case. Suddenly, Koryu appears and talks of lifeless dead people attacking them, and Victor shudders and realizes Necklord has appeared again. Necklord has bigger, sinister intentions, and Victor begs Shu to aid the bandits, with Koryu taking them there personally. Tinto has been passive to the Orange Army thus far, but Victor offers to help them nonetheless, and Gustav reveals his initial doubts in Riou's strength to defeat Luca Blight, but agrees that they need their help this time. Ridley has brought a battalion as instructed by Shu, and Gijimu-led bandits are here to help too. Lily, daughter of Gustav, reveals that Necklord is assaulting, and it turns out to be true, as Necklord gloats over his intentions of making a new demonic kingdom in the mountains, and offers to let the Tinto citizens leave, unless they decide to be part of his zombie horde. And seizing this chance, Victor sees the opportunity to confront Necklord directly. However, the apparition of Necklord disappears alongside the invading zombies, and Jess reappears to reminisce over what happened the night of Lady Annabelle's death, with Riou and party overseeing her lifeless body. Jess foolishly decides to lead a band of men to strike Necklord directly, and Riou and Nanami also aid in the efforts to help secure Tinto. They encounter Necklord in the mines and face his true Moon Rune, and against overwhelming might of a true Rune bearer for the ages, they are in mortal danger, but manage to cling on barely, with Riou's bright shield Rune to contest and save the day. They rendezvous in a local inn where Gustav confirms that Tinto has indeed fallen, and though Ridley and Klaus managed to escape, Jess and Hauser were still missing in action, and as they bury the deceased, they chance upon Khan Marley, who has tracked Necklord all the way to this location. Khan reveals he has been researching a way to seal Necklord's soul as Sierra appears and claims she needs to retrieve the true Moon Rune that Necklord stole, and Victor goes back to retrieve the Star Dragon Sword, the incarnation of the Night Rune, but they're challenged by a stone golem who they easily dispatch. Back at Necklord's chambers, he states he will bring up Lily as her lady to the captured female bandit. As Victor and party burst in and confront the immortal vampire baddie, the Star Dragon Sword is ready to dance, with Khan Marley using a sacred Marley family barrier to stop Necklord's face shifting, and when Necklord tries to smash the barrier with the Moon Rune, Sierra, the true wielder of the rune, bursts in and commands the rune to halt, Necklord giving his final defiant speech before Sierra claims back the Moon Rune, and Victor, with a Star Dragon Sword in hand, slays Necklord once and for all. Die, vampire. And with that, Necklord's chapter is finally over, and the party leave only to discover Hauser and Jess very much alive, with Hauser telling Jess to join the Orange Army, and Jess apologizes and agrees after Tinto is saved. With the emboldened allies joining, Shu says it's time to strike Highland, and Apple states that the Highland army are camping in Meuse, led by a man named Yuba, a supposed man who shifts in and out of wars mysteriously. Shu states now is the time to recapture Greenhill, but at night a Karaya assassin called Lucia attempts to slay Riou, only to be defeated easily. The next morning, Shu instructs Flichter and Hauser to the Meuse Greenhill border to slow down reinforcements from Meuse, whilst Kibba and Klaus will liberate and free Greenhill. The united forces do encounter Yuba on the battlefield, and as they make their way into Greenhill, having forced Yuba's temporary retreat from the battlefield. Teresa says they should use some secret Green Hill passages for times like these. They're confronted by Lucia, who swears revenge, as Teresa's dad was responsible for poisoning Lucia's father in a peace council. However, Teresa says they will compensate Lucia if the allegations are proven true. Back in Green Hill Central, Yuba appears before Riou, claiming him to be a cursed child, having been a wielder of one half of the true Rune of the beginning, and summons a zombie dragon with his Hachifusa true Rune. But Riou's party proves too strong and Yuba retreats temporarily. The locals celebrate Green Hill's salvation, but it is short-lived as news hits that Matilda has fallen to Highland. This all happened while they were recapturing Green Hill. With the newly captured territory, Shu states that now is the time to recapture Muse. With the war dragging on, big decisions need to be made, as the Orange Army deploys and gets ready to march on Muse. Riou's party follows Lucia, who leads them to Jowy in a secret forest path. He begs Riou to quit again and states it was his destiny, that they are to fight each other as bearers of the halves of the Rune beginning. Very much like it was Han Cunningham's and Genkaku's destiny to oppose each other on opposite sides of the war previously in the past, and as the king of Highland and leader of the opposing army. He gives a farewell to Riou and Nanami again, as Claus finds it strange that there is no resistance in Muse. And as the party carefully navigate their way around Muse, all is not what it seems. Within Muse itself, they fight incarnations of the Beast Rune within the city, and luck reveals that the Beast Rune was passed over to Highland. High Bishop Sasarai, when Highland split from Harmonia, and that Luca had sacrificed the citizens of Muse to awaken it. And luck acknowledges the existence of the Beast Rune that's been awakened by the blood sacrifices. Fitcher warns Riou that Highland soldiers are returning, so they make a hasty retreat. Shu invites Kiba into his room and wants him to assault Victor's mercenary fortress, realizing he is sending him on a potential kamikaze mission of no return, but they are needing to gamble on the decoy, and with that, the Stars of Destiny unite in the strategy hall to plan their assault on Matilda. And in the strategy room, Shu gives a rousing speech to the Stars of Destiny about the strategy to invade Matilda, and Leknat the Seer appears and confirms the gathering of the 108 Stars of Destiny under Riou, and confirms what we knew all along, that the Bright Shield Rune and the Black Sword Rune are one and the same, halves of the Rune of the beginning, and unleashes the Bright Shield Rune's final form and final spell. Kiba vows to win this battle for Lord Riou, and Jowy, leading the charge on the battlefield, realizes his folly at the decoy for the army, but vows to crush them anyway, and Shu gives the signal for his own ambush. The plan is to lure the bulk of the enemy forces away from Rokax Castle, so that Riou's party can infiltrate and raise the Orange Army banner from within, making it seem as though Rokax has fallen, and removing the Matilda Knights from the battlefield in confusion. News reaches Shu that Kiba has fulfilled his duty at the mercenary fort with valor, and lured Leon Silverberg's unit to attack him defiantly, whilst Riou rushes to seize the chance given to him within Matilda Castle. But Riou and Nanami are blocked by Jowy, who refuses to let them pass. Jowy says there's only room enough for one of the sides to exist, and that it must be ruled with an iron hand to prevent future conflict. He resolves to battle them here and now. Gerudo appears from the side with crossbowmen and wishes to vanquish them all and claim victory for Matilda, and as the bolts are fired, Nanami steps in to protect the boys with Genkaku's secret technique, but a lone bolt hits home and Nanami is critically wounded in front of Riou and Jowy, who finally unite to take on the dastardly Gerudo, and when the Black Sword Rune pierces the Overlord, Jowy leaves Nanami in Riou's care and leaves, whilst Shu appears on the scene and shouts for medical aid from a doctor. The Highland flag is burned from Matilda, Jowy probably allowing it to happen to aid Nanami's retreat, and the Knights of Matilda rally to the Allies' side to reclaim their honour. Highland retreats from Muse into Highland territory. In Highland, Jowy conducts a mock ritual sacrifice of a fake Juliet to appease the Beast Rune and show the Highland troops his conviction. On the battlefield, Flick scouts ahead and sees the Highland troops led by Leon Silverberg, with Generals Seed and Colgan in tow. Shu plays his trump card by using himself as bait to lure Leon Silverberg into a forest trap on fire, and Leon reminisces over their past and scolds Shu for wasting his generational talent. Shu retorts that in order to overcome Leon, he had to throw away the strategist rulebook and put himself in danger. With the Highland men burning all around them, Leon Silverberg turns around in disgust and criticizes Shu once more before leaving Shu to return to his party. With that, the final battle at the feet of Highland begins with Han Cunningham on the battlefield against a bright shield rune bearer once again in the form of Genkaku's son Riou. Dark Knight Yuba is also here, but the allies reclaim a resounding victory and enter Lorenyo. They encounter Lucia once more. She persists on and battles her, but is no match for the oncoming party. Teresa offers to atone for the past atrocities by her father, but Lucia loses conviction and drops the knife. In the next room, Highland's original hero Han Cunningham stands in their way and reminisces over the past failure to stop the two halves of the Rune of the Beginning fighting each other, and fights for Highland one last time but is defeated by Genkaku's son, and explains the Rune's truth, before dying with honour, having given his all for Highland. A reunion with Genkaku in the afterlife waiting, and Seed and Colgan are next as they defend Highland's honour with their last stand, giving their all for Jowy, their great hope, as he fulfilled his promise to remove Luca Blight's evil from the world. But they too cannot stop Riou's party, and they too pass away having lived their life valiantly. And in the private chambers, Jowy says his final farewell to Pilika, and Pilika cries in anguish as she doesn't want to lose Jowy again. And Juliet slowly approaches them, with Jowy stating he wants Juliet to escape to Harmonia, to be reborn and live a new life with Pilika under a new name in the house that he prepared for them. And Juliet reveals that she knew all along what Jowy did to her brother and father, and that Jowy need not apologize because she did it out of love for him and the visions of the future. And as the party approaches the final room, they see Leon Silverberg with the Beast Rune, with Leon crediting Riou's progress and Leon stating that Luca wanted to unleash the Beast Rune all along, so he gives a final blood sacrifice to summon the true Beast Rune incarnation into this world, and the party have to fight valiantly to vanquish this devilish beast back to its eternal slumber. The party proceed to the throne room where they find Jowy's garbs vacant on the throne chair. Lorenyo starts collapsing, the stars of destiny watching and cheering him on. And now safely back at the castle. Two Rivers and Tinto chiefs are waiting in the Great Hall with the other exalted leaders, reveling in the chance to rebuild the city-states of Joustin. Teresa warns of Harmonia's existence and influence in the north and wants Riou to create a united country, but Riou wishes to leave on his own journey like McDowell before him. And with that, Riou departs from the castle. Riou makes his way to Tenzan Past, to the promised place of destiny where if the childhood friends were ever split, they would reunite, and Jowy states he has no regrets for anything he had done. But he did sometimes think about his choice to betray the city-states and kill Lady Annabelle on that fateful night. Jowy knows him and Riou wanted the same things, but Jowy took a darker path. He had both hated and respected and admired Luca Blight for his power, and wanted to bring about peace by ruling with strength, and Jowy claims that it's fate that they fight here, the King of Highland and the leader of the head of the state, the final battle to commence. But Riou refuses to attack Jowy, as Genkaku did with Han. Riou finding no reason to fight Jowy, as Jowy demands Riou to do his best to remove Highland's existence along with him. Jowy slumps to the ground looking weary and pale, having used his Black Sword rune to store the Beast Rune as long as possible. And his dying wish is to give the rune to Riou, to reunite it as the Rune of the Beginning once more. But the rune suddenly starts healing Jowy, and Leknat the Seer appears and explains how in the Wielder's duel, the Rune of the Beginning comes forth and has given them the opportunity to go explore the world. And even though Jowy has his hands tainted, he gets a reprieve and the two friends are finally reunited. As they leave the pass, they bump into Shu, who had wanted Riou to lead the new state, but finally reveals that Nanami, who everyone thought had passed away, made a miraculous recovery thanks to the 108 Stars of Destiny, and secretly wanted to break away from the war and from Jowy and Riou fighting. And with Shu keeping it top secret in a promise of Nanami, she returns home to Kayaro, looking after Genkaku's grave. And with the three reunited, they travel the lands, and Jowy takes them to Harmonia to see Juliet and Pilika healthy and safe, and we see the end credits roll with bright new horizons for the heroes of the Dunan War. The most perfect, beautiful, majestic game ever made. Thank you, Murayama Sensei. Genzo Suikoden II lives long in my heart. I hope you guys enjoyed that Genzo Suikoden II story retelling as much as I enjoyed creating it. It's been just over a month and a half in the making, put a lot of effort into it. Make sure you like the video to support the channel as well. Genzo Suikoden Remaster 1 and 2 coming out in 3 days. Our boy here, Luck. Can't wait at all. True Wind Rune indeed. If you enjoyed this video, let me know what you enjoyed about it in the comments below. I'm going to try to make the Genzo Suikoden 3 story recap as soon as I can when I've got the energy to do it as well. By the way, I've got some giveaways for you guys, the Genzo Suikoden fans. In this video, I name dropped my favorite, or one of my favorite animes, worldwide, world-renowned, well-known in America and the UK, in Europe, everywhere. 2 clear references to one of the best animes of all time. Let me know in the Discord, private message me which anime and what were the timestamps of those 2 references, and you'll be in the live draw for these Genzo Suikoden II prizes, okay? This is from the concert, brand new arrangement collection, volume 3, classic piano solo, Gothic and Necklord included in the back. I'll do a live draw on the 6th when the remasters get released. This is an exclusive Konami compilation DVD of all the Tokyo gaming shows, all the live appearances of Rhapsodia, the TV commercials as well, all of the Genzo Suikoden intros and openings on DVD. Very rare piece. That too is in the giveaway. For an Eiyuden Chronicle B2 War Scroll. I picked this up from Tokyo on a holiday with a Kaseki nut myself. Directly Miyazaki man representing. Ichiban means the best right now. Eiyuden Chronicles. Obviously Rabbit and Bear Studio, association with Murayama sensei as well. And this Suikoden Symphony poem. I went to the live concert. This has amazing exclusive artwork of every single fan's dreams. I mean, look at the stunning, beautiful artwork. The soul you can feel from Riou and Jowy and Nanami as well. It's absolutely epic. Sasarai and Luck as well. Everything you need. The original piano scores for the music and scenes in there as well. 2 of the previous winners right here gave them shiny Suikoden Trading Card Game Limited Edition packs. Got the musical scores as well as one of the concert CDs. Congratulations to you guys, especially because you make great music as well. Thank you for contributing to the best community in the world. It's majestic. The orchestra members, it was an event to savor and remember as well. So these will be in the live draw. All you have to do to enter is make sure you smash a like on this video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, support the channel. We're going to get Genzo Suikoden 6 made, Stars of Destiny uniting together under this banner on the Discord. DM me, private message me, Discord link in the top comment below. What do you think was the anime that I mentioned twice in this video, right? It's a collectibles anime, by the way. Hint, hint. And give me the timestamp of those 2 mentions from this video, and you'll be entered in a live prize draw for those prizes I just shown, okay? It's our time now. Our favorite game is being remastered. Let's hope 3, 4, 5 get remastered very, very soon, and then 6 is to follow in our lifetime because we need it. It's the best series ever. Love you guys, the fan base. You guys are the best right now. Let's enjoy the remasters coming soon. Lots of videos. Peace.